In this video, we're going to be talking about how to craft an offer. How can you take the services that your clients provide and package them in a way as irresistible? In a nutshell, an offer pretty much means what are you going to be providing for your clients and why would they think that it's the best option? The proper definition of an offer is a specific outcome that you promise to help someone achieve, delivered in a way that's easier, faster, and requires as little effort as possible. When it comes to offers, this is one of the most important things that you're going to need to master if you want a successful marketing agency. You could be the best person in the world at running ads. You could have a really good sales process, right? But you will not be able to sell a bad offer. And this also is true on the flip side. You could have a terrible ad structure, you could have rubbish videos, you could have a rubbish sales process, but if you've got an amazing offer, sometimes these just sell themselves if you just make sure enough people see it. So ultimately, your success of your clients' campaigns, your own agency, is going to depend on how good you become at structuring these offers. So I've created a framework for us to follow, composing of 6 things that I think should be present if you want to be able to craft strong offers. Sometimes not all of these are going to be possible, but if you can get as many of these 6 things in as you can, I think this is going to be something which is going to help you win. Starting with number 1, we need to make sure that we are operating in a super niche. Obviously, we've spoke before about the importance of a blue ocean, but the same with everything. People always want to work with the specialist, right? And a lot of clients that you take on, they will be niche, but it might be, I'm a dentist. Yeah, that isn't going to be niche enough. You need to go a niche within a niche. So instead of just saying I'm a dentist, you should say I'm a dentist that specializes in straightening people's teeth through Invisalign treatments, okay? And then all of your content and your messaging and your ads are going to be about Invisalign. And obviously when you come to sell Invisalign, you have a much stronger brand appeal than just a generic good dentist. People will always prefer to work with a specialist, especially if the prices are similar. So broad niches aren't going to work, and they definitely don't make you stand out. You've got to hyper niche your clients. The next thing we're going to be focusing on is to making sure we're highlighting the dream outcome. If our client buys this service, what are you going to get from it? What's the main thing? What is the result? Because that's ultimately what people care about. People don't care about how you're going to deliver them straight teeth or white teeth. They just want to know, what am I going to get? Show me the result. And that should be primarily everything that you're talking about in your offer. At this stage, they don't need to know how they're getting it. The reason I've got this image here is that you need to make sure that you're selling the sizzle, not the sausage. Yeah, people aren't buying the sausage. People are buying the perception of what they think that sausage is going to taste like because of the smells and how it looks and how crisp it looks. And that's kind of the methodology that you need to take when selling your offers. At this stage, you just got to talk about the benefits and what it's going to be doing for the person. They don't care how you get them in. Best practice to make sure you're staying on track and only talking about the client's dream outcome is just to kind of ask yourself these questions, okay? So let's define the dream. Yeah, what would they want if nothing stood in their way? Talk about that. Make sure it's really clear. Yeah, these things need to be straightforward for someone to understand. You need to be able to explain this to a 10-year-old. It needs to have no complexity, because complexity kills people's desires. And obviously, just ask yourself the question, how much would this person pay for it? Would they even pay for it? You know, if you said to someone, we give you straight teeth with invisible braces. Yes, that sounds like something that someone would pay for, because it's telling me about the dream outcome. And then people would be worried that you could see the braces and you're saying they're invisible. That is a perfect example of a really good dream outcome. Number 3 is, how do you increase the perceived chance of success in the eyes of the client? There's a couple of ways that you can do this. One of the easiest ways to do it is to remove the risk. How can you make sure that your offer is just a no-brainer for that person to do? Or the second way, and the way that I like to do it, is to add a differentiation factor. How can you make that person think that this time if they do it, or this time if they do it with you instead of everybody else, it's going to work? And it's going to work because you're offering something slightly different that maybe the others aren't doing, or maybe it's different to what they tried last time and they didn't get the outcome they want, but because you've added this thing, now that's going to be the thing that makes it work. It's very hard to come up with a proper unique idea these days, right? Most people have seen other people offering what you're doing, or maybe a lot of the time people would have tried something and it didn't work, and then it's put them off ever doing it again, right? So a really good way to combat this is to add that USP, add that differentiator. You essentially want to highlight that what you're doing is similar to what they've done in the past or similar to what they're seeing, but you're giving them this extra thing. And this extra thing is actually why the whole thing works at the correct level. So an example here would be kind of the offer that we're going to be creating. You can say most people know how to run ads on Facebook and Instagram for their business, but it doesn't work for most people. And the reason for that is because they never invest in doing any content branding. And because of that, they're signing to people that don't trust them. So do you see how that frame is going to make that person think that the solution to running successful ads is by creating this brand and creating short form content? And then you could position yourself as saying, we fix that by actually running your ads and we produce your short form content. So we're marketing your stuff to people that are going to be in a position that they can trust you. And that's how you need to be thinking about everything. So the same if they were doing Invisalign braces and that person had tried them before and it didn't work, you say, okay, well, we need to add this hygiene visit in before, which is usually £200, but we actually give you this inclusive of the package. And this hygiene visit makes sure that your teeth are cleaned and positioned in a way that then when we put these Invisalign braces on, that's when you get the result. Something like that. Yeah, you're going to have to be creative with these. Obviously, use ChatGPT, but always try and add a USP or a differentiating factor into your product. This is the easiest way to increase the perceived likelihood of that person without having to give any crazy guarantees or reduce the price. Having said that, you won't always be in a boat where it is actually possible to do that because your client will just be offering a generic thing. If that is the case, you can't add that USP or differentiator. You need to give reassurance. Often this needs to come in the form of financials, which is why I don't like doing it, because whenever you're highlighting how it's like completely low risk for people, of course you're going to attract the bottom of the barrel clients. Most good people understand there is a risk associated to anything worth having, right? But if you did want to add these, this is when you start adding your guarantees, money back guarantees, or all of this stuff. Or you get paid upon a certain milestone. We run your ads for 3 months, and when you make £10,000, then you give us 20%. Yeah, something like that. Or we do your teeth. If you're happy with them, then you pay us, or you pay us at the end instead of having to pay these big upfront payments before. Use these sparingly because they do attract difficult clients. The goal, essentially, from both of these things is just to minimize the risk in the eyes of the client. And you can do that successfully without having these crazy guarantees and all that stuff. It's just important that you're conscious of not over-promising, because that can also be a way to frustrate clients if you're not actually doing what you say on the tin. I wanted to share this image that popped up on my Instagram today because I thought this is just a perfect example of how just having a strong brand and having someone that's invested in PR or done a lot of short form content. This is a USP. This is a differentiating product because you separated yourself from the marketplace because you look like such an expert. We've got 2 examples here of a really good financial expert. One is just someone that's got an amazing job and built a successful business, but is quiet. Yeah, maybe hasn't done a lot of branding. And on our right, we've got that same guy, but we've invested in, paying for him to have a Forbes feature. We've invested in his PR. He's got articles written about him. That guy is going to get 3 times the amount of inquiries if you ran ads, and probably for a third of the price. Like if you asked 10,000 people and said, right, these guys, which one do you want to go to? Everybody would pick the guy with the PR. It's not like a couple of people would pick the normal one. Everybody would go to that guy, and that guy could charge 30% more, and people would be happy to pay it because he looks like the expert. So just positioning your client in a way where their brand looks the best and they look like the most obvious choice, that can be a USP for us. Number 4 is effort. Making sure you're mentioning how much work is that client going to have to do. If it's completely hands off for them and you do all the heavy lifting, that's something that you need to be talking about in your offer. If it's something where they can completely outsource it and that, that can free up their time to focus on more important activities that are maybe getting in the way of them growing or doing something else important, these are things that you need to be offering, because most people these days can't be bothered with any unnecessary admin tasks setting up. So if you are taking care of that for them, make sure you tell them how easy it's going to be once they pay you. This is extra important, especially if you're selling something which is B2B, business to business. Most people these days are time poor, especially these busy business owners. They do not have time to be getting too involved with taking on new things and setting up new systems. Number 5, probably the one that we all experience the most common when crafting offers, is the speed. People are prepared to pay more to get things done faster. You see this all of the time when you're buying clothes online and they're offering an express delivery and and a normal delivery. Sometimes this is literally double the price. I paid for something the other day. I paid 50% more because I wanted to get my watch polished on the same day. Mention this in your offers. How fast can you get someone the result that they want? You know, if it can be faster than everyone else's, you're okay, gonna be upping your price. You know, and it's also gonna be something where these people that want it right now, people are impatient. Yeah, we're living in the Amazon Prime world of everything, where everything needs to be immediately. So the faster that transformation to get them that dream outcome, the more they want it. People aren't just paying for outcomes these days, they're paying for outcomes immediately. You know, if I can get someone the dream outcome but it takes a year, that's not going to be a very enticing offer. But I can get you that dream outcome and it takes you 3 days, yeah, now we got a good offer. So bear that in mind. And the last one, perhaps the most important one in my opinion, the use of urgency tactics. Understand people need an extra reason to do stuff apart from the actual reason of why they want to get it. You're going to have to give them either a reward or a consequence if you want them to take the action right now. Because let's think about it. Let's say you walk past Apple and you're debating getting an iPhone. And that iPhone, when you go in January, it's £1,000. And when you go in May, it's £1,000. And when you go in December, it's £1,000. Because it's always the same, you never feel compelled to actually take an action. But when you go on Black Friday, because you know that's the day where you're getting a reward in terms of a discount, and now that same iPhone that you've been close to getting is now £700 instead of £1,000, boom. You know you need to take action because it's Black Friday. Because if it's Black Saturday, the discount's probably not going to be there, or you're worried, the consequence, about losing that discount. And this is so important for your offers. So not only do you need to always give that person a reward or a consequence, you also need to do it within a time frame. FOMO will make people do crazy stuff, that fear of missing out. So I wrote a couple of examples here. Stuff like an early bird discount, 25% discount for people that get this booked in this week. If you've seen this ad, that means you're just in time to get it booked. We're only offering a 25% discount for all Invisalign teeth straightening for November only. This is going to be the cheapest time for you to get that teeth. If you message in December, we're not going to be giving it you. Or you can get it, but it's going to be 30% more. That's a really strong offer. You can see how that would spark that person to go for it now. Because people don't like making decisions about anything, trust me, especially when it comes to parting with their money. So give me that extra reason to make me take action. You can also use things like having limited spaces. So this would fall under the consequence example. You could be like, we're currently offering free consultations and giving an additional 30% off teeth straightening with Invisalign. However, we've only got 10 spaces available. If you're lucky enough to see this ad, that means there's still space in your area. Sign up here before it's too late. And because I don't want to be number 11, I don't want to miss out on that, that might spark me to submit my contact information and maybe even buy it. Okay, so really important that you're adding either a reward and a consequence on top of the actual thing that you're selling. If your offer is the same every time that person looks or considers buying, of course, there's no incentive for them to buy it right now because they can wait and I can think about it, and then, you know, there's no loss to me. Of course, they would rather pick that because thinking about it safe and not parting with any money is a hell of a lot more comfortable, isn't it? So just recapping the 6 things that I think compose really strong offers, especially when it comes to running ads with them. Number 1, make sure you are super niching your clients. It's not just okay to be an expert of that industry. They need to be an expert of a niche within their industry. Number 2, make sure you are defining that dream outcome. What is the end result? What is the main thing that that client wants to get from this? And make sure everything that you're talking about is just about the result. They don't particularly care of how you're doing it. You need to sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Number 3, increase the perceived chance of success in their head. Why is this time going to work for them? And why would this one, instead of all of the other people that do it, why is this one the most likely to work? The best way of doing this is with differentiation. Or if you can't do that, you're going to need to make sure you're offering some form of guarantee or warranty or something which makes them feel more comfortable about maybe parting with their cash. Number 4, how much effort is going to be required? If it's hands off for them, make sure you're talking about that. Most people are time poor and they're happy to do stuff and they're more likely to pay for stuff if they don't need to get involved. And 100% true if you're in the B2B world. Number 5, you're maximizing the speed. You know, we're experiencing this every single day with premium delivery and standard delivery. People are impatient creatures and they're happy to pay for stuff and pay a bit more if it can be fast. There's no point in getting people to dream outcome that they want. It was going to take them forever to get it. It's got to be right now. And then the last one, number 6, in my opinion, the most important, you need to be using urgency tactics. People need another reason on top of the main reason to take an action. You need to be giving this person a reward or a consequence. You know, you can use this with discounts, rewards, limited availability. Your offer needs to have a clear reason for them to take action now. Because every time I look at it, if there's no motivation for me to do it because it's the same next week, it's the same next month, then I'm not going to be doing it, okay? Try and add all 6 of these. It's not always going to be possible to add some of these, right? It's not a black and white framework that's going to fit every offer. But I think if you always revert to that framework every time you're trying to craft one, you know, if you can tick off, you know, a good 4, 5, 6 of these, it's definitely going to be stronger than, obviously, if you did just 1, 2, or 3. But do aim for 6, okay? Good video. Let's move on to the next one.